Hello, I'm Dr. Fry, and welcome to another edition of Digest 30. As you can see in the background, this is a boat. It's pretty popular here in Baton Rouge, and a lot of people wonder how in the world it got here, what it is, and why it's here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk to some people that actually run the boat, find out where the boat came from, more importantly, how you can be involved in supporting that it stays in Baton Rouge. We'll also find out how important it is to the economy, what it does for Baton Rouge, and there's one guy that's basically in charge, has been for a few years. He's seen it make movies. We're going to learn a lot about this boat, including the name and how it got named. So if you would, walk with me as we meet a man by the name of David Beard. And David Beard is the executive director of the USS Kidd.
How you doing, Doc?
David, doing great, man.
Good to see you.
Thanks for inviting us out today.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Today, you got a beautiful complex here. Tell us a little bit about what is behind us as far as the museum and of course the ship.
Well, of course, here's the museum is the main complex of the USS Kidd Veterans Museum. It's of course grew out of the ship USS Kidd, which came here in 1982. Opened in 1983 to the public. This building was opened in 1986 to be a complement to the ship, to tell the history of the ship, and also to serve as a memorial to Louisiana's naval and marine veterans.
Wow. How many people a year average come and see the ship?
Just shy of 50,000 has been our average.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. We'd like to get more than that. It's been one of those numbers we can't seem to break consistently year after year, though.
Well, it's a changing time, and a lot of people that remember these ships and what they did, those generations are beginning to be lost.
That's true. Even the children of the people who served on this ship in World War II, they're my age and older. They're in their 60s and even in 70s, and so that memory, that social memory, that context is sort of being lost, and so we have to figure out how to be relevant to a new generation and engage them in history.
Before we take a break and we actually resume out on the ship itself, why don't you tell us what the name of the ship is and how it got its name?
Sure, it's a USS Kidd DD-661, meaning it was the 661st destroyer built for the U.S. Navy. The ship is named after Isaac Campbell Kidd, the Rear Admiral, who was the admiral of the battle fleet with the USS Arizona, and the
That's
Arizona
a popular boat.
And the Arizona was his flagship. And on December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese began their attack, Admiral Kidd went to the bridge of the Arizona to direct defensive actions and was killed when a Japanese bomb struck the bridge of the Arizona, literally incinerating him and everybody inside.
Wow.
And so,
well, I've had the pleasure of being in Hawaii and going to that memorial, and it's breathtaking to sit there and see it sunk in the harbor and walk over it and drop the pedals on it as all the tourists do. And but for people that lived it, to come back to something like this or had to be just really impactful. How many different survivors or people who served on the ship have you personally documented have actually been on the boat?
I don't personally have those numbers. Our ship superintendent, who is the institutional memory of the ship's history, Tim Nesmith, who you'll be meeting shortly, he has all those particulars. I have probably met 2 or 3 veterans that actually served on the ship, but numerous World War II veterans that served on destroyers, although they're all getting up there in years and their ability to travel is reducing every year. And so pretty soon we won't be seeing any more.
How did the ship come about to be in Baton Rouge?
Well, in the late 70s, it was decided that 3 Fletcher-class destroyers were going to be set aside as memorials, and so they were saved from the scrapper's yard. USS Kidd, fortunately, was one of them. And so when the state of Louisiana, a delegation led by then U.S. Representative Henson Moore of Louisiana, went to Philadelphia to look for a suitable vessel to serve as a naval and marine memorial here in Baton Rouge, they were directed towards the Kidd. And the Kidd because it was not messed with after the war as much as many of the vessels were, is as close as you can get to its 1945 configuration as really is possible. And so it serves kind of as the gold standard within the fleet of the Historic Naval Ships Association as a ship that is most historically accurate for its era.
So it was scrapped and is it technically still owned by the USS Navy?
The Navy still owns it. It was decommissioned in 1964 and rendered out of service in 1975, I believe. Being it was struck from the rolls, but the Navy still owns it. We serve as the stewards of the ship.
What year did it come to Baton Rouge?
1982. Spent a year doing restoration work, cleaning up the ship, and then it was open in August of 1983.
Wow. I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to going on the ship. When we come back, we'll be inside the ship. We'll meet the people he's talking about that are the gurus of the boat. And then we'll pick up later back inside the museum. We'll get to see some things that are in there. And all this is for a purpose. Of course, the USS Kidd is primarily funded by your dollars. So you can find out ways to contribute by going and logging on to USSKidd.com. They also have several events coming up, which is what this special is about. We'll be telling you details about the, I guess it's called Rumble on the River or something like that, Roaring on the River, there we go. We'll find out details about it. It's coming up Thursday night and how to get tickets, so you'll want to stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Digest 30. Of course, I'm walking with David Beard. He's the Executive Director of the USS Kidd Memorial and Battleship, I guess. What's the proper name of this place?
It's a destroyer. It's a USS Kidd Veterans Museum. And the USS Kidd is the ship that we are standing on here, a World War II destroyer.
It's a great view from the front of the boat.
That's actually the stern of the boat.
Oh, we're at the back of the boat.
It's not a boat. It's a ship. We got the you got the stern, you got the bow, and you got the starboard, you got port.
Well, you know more about boats than I do. I understand you got a guy that knows a lot about boats.
We do have a guy that knows a lot about boats.
Hello there, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tim Nesmith.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Nice to meet
you. Now, where
you.
are you from?
I'm from a little place just southwest of Alexandria, Louisiana. It's way out in the woods called Hineston. Nobody ever really knows where it is. Not even the people that live there sometimes.
Now, when did you come to work on this ship?
1995, after I got out of LSU.
You refer to it as a ship?
I refer to it as a ship.
As a ship?
Yes, sir. Modern ships are known as boats to their sailors, but World War II ships are known as ships to their crew.
I got you. So, was you in the Navy yourself?
I was never in the military. I was the right age for Desert Storm, and I talked to the recruiters, and they just did not have a quota that they were trying to meet, and my eyesight just made them say, "Go away, we don't need you right now."
Go, we don't need you right now. So, you've been doing this for a while. What's your favorite part about the job?
I like to say I want to be a teacher at LSU. I wanted to be a history teacher, and I ended up here. And I like to say it's the best of both worlds because I get to teach the kids, and they want to be here because I'm not giving them homework.
Right.
And I get to meet the men and women that made the history that I love to read about.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, without giving away the entire tour, could you just a little bit tell us about the boat and the few of the different parts that you consider to be the major attractions?
Well, sure. First of all, she's named after Rear Admiral Isaac Campbell Kidd Sr. He was in charge of all the battleships at Battleship Row on December 7th in Pearl Harbor in 1941. And he was killed aboard the Arizona, received the Medal of Honor posthumously, and they named this ship after him. It is one of 4 surviving vessels of her class, the Fletcher class, still in the world. 2 others are here in the United States, 1 other is in Greece. And she is the only destroyer that you'll find in the world that is set up in her World War II configuration. All the others the Navy used to keep modernizing them, to keep them viable for the Navy during the Cold War when we were trying to play catch up or keep ahead of the Soviets.
Right.
And she didn't get the modifications that a lot of the other ones did. So by the time we got her in 1982, they had pulled a lot of stuff off of her, but they hadn't structurally changed her. So we've been able to add 90 tons of World War II vintage equipment back to her in that time period.
It's got to be hard to try and find this stuff. It's not like it's going to be at the local Costco or a pawn shop.
It's not at the pawn shop, not at Home Depot, and it's getting very hard to find World War II equipment now in the reserve fleet when we go to salvage. So we were lucky to have the right man at the right time with the right ship, and it was the perfect storm for historic preservation.
Now, you said it was called the Fletcher class. What
Yes.
does that mean? So where did that come from?
Think of a Fletcher class destroyer the same way you would think of a 1965 Mustang, Ford
Okay.
Mustang. The Ford Mustang is going all the way from 65 to present. That would be the class, the destroyer. The 1965 model is the same as the Fletcher class. It's that particular design on that model of car.
Oh, okay.
So the Fletcher class is this particular configuration for this type of ship.
I got you. And how big is the boat? What is
She is 376 feet long and 6 inches. She's 39 feet at her widest, and she has a displacement of 2,050 tons unloaded. You add all the crew, all of their equipment, the tools, the fuel, the water, food, and that adds another 1,000 tons. So she's 3,040 tons fully loaded.
And it's only 40 foot wide.
Just shy of 40 feet wide. She takes a 59-degree roll is the farthest she can go without capsizing.
That's a pretty good size.
That's very frightening. We have an oral history from some of our Korean officers that talk about taking 59-degree rolls and off of the peninsula of running into a typhoon, and one guy popped his head out of a hatch and saw a wave crashing across the yard arm at the top of the mast.
Wow.
Yes,
Incredible stories, I'm sure.
scary.
So this is the back of the boat.
This
that
is
we
the
saw
stern,
here when it first
yes.
came on, and that is what are these guns we're looking at there?
These are 20 millimeter anti-aircraft guns. They called them Oerlikons. They were a Swedish design, and they were primarily used for anti-aircraft. They fire 450 rounds a minute, and we've got 2 of them back here. These 2 actually were salvaged. They were gone by the time we got the ship. These were salvaged from a field behind a Dutch Naval Reserve Center in Amsterdam. The Allies didn't need these anymore. They were obsolete, and there were hundreds of them sitting in this field behind
Wow.
there. And so they said, "You need some? We'll get you some." And
Now those are
they shipped
relatively
them.
small compared to the guns we're looking at up here. What is this?
Correct. These are 5-inch 38 caliber guns. They can shoot about 10 miles as adverse to the 2 miles for the 20s. They are good for anti-aircraft, they're good for ship-to-ship combat, and they're good for shore bombardment. Kidd knocked out several trains up on the mountainsides along the coast of Korea during the Korean War, doing train busting duty. It fires a 55-pound projectile, and there's 11 men that would be crammed into that tight little space to make it operate according to the manuals. Some of them operated with fewer crew.
Now we know why sailors are usually so small.
Sailors are small and sailors are thin.
Strong.
And strong. Never pick a fight with a gunner's mate.
So overall, how many of these weapons are on the ship?
We have 5 5-inch guns. We have 6 20 millimeter guns, and then we have 5 40 millimeter guns. The 40s shoot about 6 miles in distance.
40 millimeter. And
40
how big
millimeter.
is the projectile on 40 millimeter?
Projectile for a 40 millimeter is about yay big.
When you say yay big, that's how long it is?
That's
or
how long it
That's
is.
how long it is.
Mhm.
Big hunk of metal coming at you at a very high rate of speed
Yes.
over a long distance.
Long distance.
6 miles.
6 miles.
Imagine being able to duck hunt 6 miles. That'd be pretty
There would be no duck left with
That's
a 40
true.
millimeter.
That's true. So what is the favorite part of the ship to the older generation that come on the boat? What do they say? Boy, I'm glad I finally got to see that.
It kind of depends according to the individual. Like the sailors themselves who served on these, they like to go see where their bunks were. They like to go see their old duty station and their battle station. So that could be anything on the ship. The wives and the families are just amazed at the tight configuration of everything, the almost claustrophobic spaces, because every inch of space is used.
You did
as
say
go through.
8 men worked in here. How many were actually on the boat?
There were 330 men on the ship.
330.
330
in the space of a football field and 40 foot wide.
Exactly. And an interesting thing about that that I love to tell people is the guys that served on destroyers in World War II had less personal space per square foot per individual than the prisoners in penitentiaries back home.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, if we didn't whet your appetite enough there in order to come out and see this ship, you definitely got your appetite wet enough to support this ship. It's important that he is able to continue teaching school kids about it, letting the adults that were the children of the survivors of these wars come about and see where their parents worked and lived and helped protect our country. And the way you can do that is by going to USSKid.com, and you can see several different ways that you can contribute. Of course, you can buy tickets and come down here, but also Thursday night at the Hilton, we're having the Roaring on the River, and there's going to be live band, there's going to be prizes auctioned off to raise money. You're going to get to hang out with a lot of people that really love that time and are wanting to support the ship. So we invite you to go to the website again, USSKid.com, and click on the little, I know it's a little down in the bottom right hand corner, there's a red exclamation mark, and if you click on that, it'll light up and tell you all about the dance and find out more information, of course. But right now we got to take a break, and then we come back, we're going to go inside the museum where it's a little bit cooler than it is out here. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Thanks a lot. Welcome back to Digest 30. I'm Dr. Fry, and of course we are at the USS Kidd Memorial and Museum down here in downtown Baton Rouge. And as you know, there's a big event coming up this Thursday night, and we want to be sure that you are invited. And this guy is in charge of the museum. This is the executive director. You met him earlier. He's back with us now. We had fun playing on your boat.
Oh, I'm glad you did. It's always a fun trip for anybody, children of all ages.
You've got a large museum here. It's actually bigger than the boat, isn't it?
It is. It's about a little over 20,000 square feet of exhibit space.
The thing I like about it is it doesn't just incorporate about the boat. You've got all branches of the armed services here.
Sure. I mean, we are the Louisiana Veterans Memorial in effect. And so we have this Hall of Honor that recognizes the service of service members from all branches.
I see something that I definitely remember, Band of Brothers. Tell me about this display.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is one of our inductees. This is Eugene Doc Rowe, and he was a medic with the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Easy Company of Band of Brothers fame. And if you saw the series Band of Brothers, there's a medic who's featured largely, especially around the Battle of Bastogne. He's going into town constantly looking for medical supplies. That's our Doc Rowe. And so that's a really interesting story, taking a person into a historical accounting on film. Sure. And then bringing all that together in here. And one of the most interesting things I find about Doc's exhibit is there is this ivory handled cutlery here that came from Hitler's eagle's nest.
Wow.
In Bavaria, when they Easy Company, they in the movie the film shows them up there and they're collecting souvenirs. Somebody collected a whole bunch of cutlery, and when Doc married his English bride, this was a wedding gift to him and his bride, this cutlery from the eagle's nest.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So there's displays all throughout the museum.
Sure.
And of course we're doing this to try and help raise funds for the kid. Mm-hmm. So you've got an event Thursday night. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Okay,
sure. This is our inaugural gala, a fundraising gala. Museum has never put on one before. It's called Roaring on the River. It's going to be at the Riverview Room of the downtown Hilton, starting at 6:30, going till 10:30. You can find out how to get tickets on our website. There's a little emblem down in the bottom right-hand corner you can click on. It's got sort of a 1940s theme, but you can be black tie, military, or 40s themed dress. We have
sounds like a fun night.
It is. It's individual tickets all the way up to corporate sponsorships can be had, and all the information as far as the prices are available on the website.
Let's say somebody's not available for your throwdown Thursday night. How else can they help support the kid and keep it going?
Sure, there's a support us button on our website. You can become a member. You can make donations to our annual fund. You could just mail us a donation check. If you're a company and would like to sponsor an event or an exhibit we have, contact us, let us know. We can probably fit you up with something.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing financially?
Well, we're by and large solvent. We're still pretty solvent here. We're not running.
Traditionally, are having a lot of trouble.
Well, they are. We're not running in the red, but we're not making a lot of ground, and that's why we need more financial support. Many people seem to think that we are a federal or state-funded institution. We're not. We pretty much are self-funded, and that's why visitation, memberships, annual giving are so very important to us. And this fundraiser will hopefully put us on the map of Baton Rouge philanthropy, because a lot of folks, including people attending this event, have no idea that we are a not-for-profit that is worthy of their philanthropic gifts.
Well, it is definitely deserving of.
I believe so, yes.
I'm really impressed with what you do here. And I also noticed that because a lot of our viewers are my age or your age or older, and this means something to them.
Sure.
So some people are sitting at home going, how could I volunteer? I noticed there was a couple of opportunities throughout the asking for volunteers. How does that work?
Well, I mean, we need volunteers to help work on the ship, everything from electrical work to plumbing to painting and scraping. Every Thursday we have a volunteer crew that's made up mostly of Navy veterans that comes. We can also use people who want to volunteer doing research for us, helping us go through archives, catalog collections, things like that. We just need a whole range of helps that volunteers can provide.
Now, does the museum offer guided tours? What do you offer?
Well, typically the guided tours are for groups of 20 or more, like school groups. Occasionally we'll get a group from one of the tour boats that wants a guided tour, or from some other type of institution that has a group that wants, and then we'll give a guided tour. Primarily the museum and the ship are self-guided though.
Well, I notice it's well documented. There's a lot of things very easy to read and explain what you're looking at. So
Exactly. Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the whole museum?
The view from my office. No, I'm just kidding. I do have a nice view, but I think it's just the fact that that we sort of blend together a historic naval vessel with military history and individuals that that are worthy of special recognition in our Hall of Honor.
All right, one more question.
Sure.
Of the short time that you've been here, because the boat's been here a long time. What's the most memorable occasion of someone coming in and being moved, or what's one thing that stands out in your mind?
Well, for me, because there'd been no changes in the museum for literally decades, and we installed this really wonderful World War I centennial exhibit that we built in-house, and it's pretty dramatic. It's pretty well done, considering we were on a shoestring budget with we had a corporate sponsor, but it still costs a lot to build. And I was standing in the hallway here, and there was a woman standing there with her children, and she's just looking at this and going, this wasn't here before. I said, when was the last time you were here? She goes, I haven't been here for probably 10 years or so. And she goes, and I'd come several times before that, but it was always the same, so I stopped coming. There was never anything new. I said, well, I'm glad you came back, because now there's something new. And we're planning every year to have something new. Small exhibits, large exhibits, always something new every year. A reason to come back.
Fantastic. I know something about virtual reality tour. Is that coming?
It's coming. We have a prototype of a virtual reality combat station firing the 20 millimeter anti-aircraft gun. That should be ready to unveil at the gala. So we're hoping that all the bugs will be worked out of it. The guy that's doing it is a really excellent a game designer. That's the guys doing this are gamers. But they've taken this project and they are running with it. It's looking very good. Last time I went over and checked it out. So come to the gala and try the virtual reality machine gun.
Well, Channel
section.
30 is known for its drone racing, so you think there's any chance we could have drone racing and try and shoot down the drones from the boat?
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later.
Well, my wife was a pretty good trap shooter, so
There you go. We'll see who's better, the trap shooters or the drone flyers.
that's
There you
it
go.
right there.
Folks, I hope you've enjoyed learning something about the USS Kidd, and I hope that you will choose to support the USS Kidd, and we hope to see you at the gala. So for now, it's time for Digest 30 to close another chapter of this week. Until next time, remember, life is short. Live it well. See you next time.